Hey everybody, it's Brian from PhoneArena here, and this is the Kyocera Torque. Now as you can see, the Kyocera Torque doesn't look like much. It's just got a 4-inch WVGA display, a bit small and low resolution by today's standards. And it's also running Android 4.0, which is a couple versions out of date by now. It even has physical buttons, something we haven't seen on a phone in a long time. We're used to seeing at least capacitive buttons down there, if not on screen, in many new devices. As you start to look around though, you notice that it's got the yellow button on the side, and that indicates that it is a direct connect device. And then on the back, you're going to notice the locking mechanism for the battery door. And you'll also see the covered micro USB and headphone ports. And that's because this is a rugged device. And not only is Military-Spec certified for things like dust, shock, vibration, humidity, but it's also IP67 certified to make it waterproof up to a meter for 30 minutes, can get blasts of water. So this is a pretty rugged device. Another first is that it's Sprint's first LTE direct connect device, although we do have to point out that the two cannot be used in junction. If you have LTE turned on, even if you're not in an LTE market, the direct connect won't work. We've reached out to Sprint to find out why that's the case, but we have a feeling it has to do with some compatibility issues. Like we mentioned, it's just running Android 4.0, and that's also a compatibility issue for push-to-talk. As of right now, Android 4.1 and 4.2 do not support that, although Sprint and Kyocera were quick to mention that they are working on that and an upgrade path is available. It's a lot of really cool stuff with the Torque right there, but perhaps the most remarkable thing is this does not have an earpiece. As you can see, it's nice and shiny, it's nothing but glass. Does have two giant, really loud front-facing speakers down here, but how are you going to hear your caller if you don't have them on speakerphone? Well, it turns out that the speaker is actually this display. This is Kyocera's Smart Sonic Receiver technology, something we first saw debuted in Japan last year. Basically what happens, in a technical sense, is that there's a bunch of piezoelectric transducers below the screen, and it vibrates the screen. The entire screen acts as your speaker, so there is no sweet spot. You can have your ear up here, your ear down here, your ear wherever you want, and it delivers the audio directly into your ear canal via air, as we're used to, but also through tissue conduction. Now, we've seen some of this before with headsets. Motorola and Jawbone come to mind, but this is a truly unique and totally new approach to that. What that means is that you can be in a loud, crowded room and still have crystal clear audio. Because, like we said, this entire thing is the speaker, and with the tissue conduction, the background noise doesn't necessarily matter because it's still getting delivered to your eardrum through the tissues in your skull. What that means for us is clear audio, and in our testing, it was actually quite remarkable how good this was. It's also the second Sprint device to support HD audio. The first was, of course, the Evo 4G LTE last year. And even though that's not enabled, like we found on the Evo, the call quality on the other end was also quite remarkable. So, even though this may look like a little bit of an old dated phone on paper, it's a bit thick, it's a bit bulky, there's a lot of technology going into the Kyocera Torque, and we're really impressed with it. Now, like we said, the Torque is running Android 4.0, which is ice cream sandwich. As you can see, it's a pretty vanilla Android experience, which is something that we always love. There really isn't too much added. There's the Google Experience apps, as you would expect, as well as the Sprint apps. And then we also have a few other preloaded apps, Polaris Viewer for office documents, Quick Panorama for panoramic videos, and a couple other things. Nothing too terrible, and there's plenty of ROM memory left. There's plenty of speed in here. It is running a dual-core Snapdragon S4 Plus processor. It's got a gig of RAM, so the thing has plenty of oomph and horsepower to get you through. I'll load up the browser here real quick. You can see it does come with Chrome preloaded, although there is another web browser as well. Everything was nice, smooth, fluid, double tapping, pinching to zoom, no hang-ups. So this device has plenty of power to run through and plenty of memory so that you're not getting hung up on your everyday stuff. Now we're going to take a look at the back here. As you see, it's got the little locking mechanism, and this is thankfully very easily turned with a fingernail. Some of the other devices take a little bit more effort. Battery door pops off. You see the little water resistant band around there to protect the battery and the internals. We're going to pop our battery out here, and you will find a micro SD slot. And then another first for Sprint is a removable SIM card. Now, of course, LTE uses SIM cards, but on all the other devices, these have been locked in, and this one is actually removable. So if for some reason you needed to, you would be able to swap that out and be just fine. So, real good design in terms of overall feel. The Torque is, of course, not the thinnest device in the world. However, this battery door has a great rubbery coating to it. You can see all around it's got a real thick rubber coating. The display is nicely recessed in there, so if you're setting the phone down, you're not actually setting it on the display. If you're dropping the phone, unless you're hitting it directly, it's not going to necessarily hit the screen as long as it hits the side first. So a lot of considerable design. And like we mentioned before, these front speakers are extraordinarily loud. One of the loudest speakers we've seen on any phone, and that makes it really conducive to using it on the job site or construction sites where it tends to be quite noisy. So all in all, we're really impressed with the design of the Torque. We're very impressed with the functionality, and on the whole, we are quite impressed with the device overall.